Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited to be with you. I'm Dr. Sheri. I am coming to you with Power Tables on today, as you know, where you bring the lunch and we bring the tea. Yep. We're a few minutes behind here. Thank you guys so much for just hanging in here, waiting on me. We've had technical difficulties all week with technology. That's one of the wonderful, how shall I say it, occupational hazards of this business is that sometimes the technology is totally on point and then sometimes it is what it is. So you know how we do it. We just go ahead and do it. But look. I'm bringing my tea today. As you can see, it's got my cup of blessing on it. I think you can see it. I don't know. It's camera's doing all types of stuff. But we're bringing you a cup of blessing. And this is a tea. Hey, sister, I see you there. This is a tea that has green tea in it. If you know anything about green tea, it's a great antioxidant. It's a booster of energy. It just helps your circulatory system. But this one also has some dandelion in it and some fennel. Great things with all of the above. Plus, it tends to help with your bone health. It tends to help with weight loss. We got some things coming up in this season. And as I said, digestion's got a little peppermint in it for that. So it's a nice mixture. So I'm just enjoying this tea for a second. It's good. Okay, as the camera goes in and out, but we're making it today. Listen, I wanted to bring something to you very quickly. I was thinking about all the technical difficulties I had this week with the internet, with camera issues, with just on and on. And it was a bit frustrating. And then as I was thinking about it this week, I learned probably more than I've ever learned because of certain things not working like they needed to work. I learned some things about me. I learned that I can kind of rebound. I learned that I could figure it out. I learned that the audience that really needs to be here is still here when you get back. I learned all those things. But this is what I really learned. Sometimes we're trying to be so correct about so many things. We want to be these days socially correct. We don't want to say the wrong thing on social media. We want to be politically correct. Oh my goodness, we don't want to start another world war, so to speak. And so we're even time conscientious, and it's a wonderful thing to be on time. So I was trying so hard to be on time. I had everything laid out, and then the cameras just went crazy right around that time frame. And so I could not be time correct or digitally correct, as whatever term you may want to use in that one. But what I found, I almost cut the whole thing. And I could hear the spirit within me say, do you want to be correct or do you want to be consistent? Whew. I had to think about that. I said, I want to be consistent. He said, well, then you're going on. You're going on. No matter the changes, no matter the difficulty, no matter what problems you had, what troubles you had, you're going to be consistent with what you said you were going to be consistent about. You're going to show up. You're going to do the work. It may not come off perfect, but it comes off purposed. And that's what I want to talk to you about briefly. It kind of changed my segment, if you will, because we're going to talk about take inventory. This is probably going to be a part one. We're going to do part two next week. Typically, we're second and fourth, but I think this take inventory is important. Take inventory. Have we been consistent? And we want success. Success does not come until we become consistent with things. We want things to be strategically planned and just come off flawless. But it doesn't come without consistency, because what consistency will teach us and show us is that sometimes we've got hidden flaws and you don't know it until you become consistent about a thing. We had our car just this week. We had to get some work done on it. And we had one particular thing happen with the tires, with the rotors, and we had to go get all of that stuff taken care of. But once we did that, because we've been consistent about how we pay attention to our vehicles, how we pay attention to our home and maintaining things. And now we're becoming health conscientious. Even my husband has gotten on board, and my sister that's listening here, she knows how important that thing is. So we're doing some things even now before 2023 that are becoming consistent. But because we were consistent about listening to the things in our engines and our cars and all of those things, when we fixed the one thing, another thing showed up. Guess what that thing was? It was an oil leak. Now, the rotors were bad enough. That was one thing that could cause a whole other problem. But you got a slow oil leak and your indicator shows up off and on. It's not consistent as we found it to be. And as my husband looked at that thing, he said, it's an oil leak. I could hear the sound when I would turn. We thought it was just losing, as we say, we thought it was something else. Power steering is what we thought. That wasn't it. It was a slow oil leak, and the sound was awful. But because of that sound, and because we're consistent when we hear things that don't sound right, those flaws, our consistency uncovered flaws. Just want to stop and let that sink for a moment because, yeah, that's a little better than I thought. That consistency uncovered flaws, y'all. We're going to have to see where our flaws are. Everything is not going to be perfect. Everything is not going to be coming up roses. Everything will not smell good, the great aromas that you want it to be. Life is what it is. But we also have to understand our flaws. And when we don't understand them, guess what? Once we are on those platforms that we hope to get to, and I pray that most of us get there, because I need you to get there, hopefully as much as you need me to get there. But we don't want to be there with those flaws, and the world can see them when we had an opportunity to identify them and correct them if we had just been consistent. Yeah, we have to do consistent evaluations of ourselves. And that's not to be critical. That's not speaking of low self-esteem. We're not talking about that. In fact, it's a strength to be able to do self-evaluation. It's a strength, but you don't get it without consistency. Because as long as we pass over a thing, we will pass over a thing until opportunities pass over us. Okay, I'm gonna let that sink too just a little bit because I know it's a little difficult right now. I'm just gonna chat with you for just a few minutes. But consistency is so important. It is so important. So it not only just uncovers our flaws, but it uncovers our blind spots. Yeah, it uncovers those blind spots because we're consistent. Now, we have all of those wonderful indicators in our vehicles now. Technology has just helped us so much with that. And those indicators will tell us there's a little flashing light that comes out to the side that's yellow on the newer vehicles that tell you there's a car coming up in a blind spot that you can't see. We have those wonderful indicators now that when we back up, it gives us a picture of what that looks like. But I love what it says at the bottom. It tells us just because you can see this, it doesn't take away the fact that you need to look around your area before you actually throw it in reverse, before you actually move over to the lane to the right or the left. You need to look. You need to see what your blind spots are. As great as the indicators are in our newer vehicles, as great as the technology is in our newer vehicles, we still have to look. It doesn't take away from human evaluation. So it is with us. Just because we may be able to pick up a thing here or there, those blind spots are still present. And it's not until we take a look, it's not until we actually look around that we can see it. Only when we become consistent at looking around, at looking at us, do we find the blind spots. Do we find the blind spots of just making everything fantasy, cleaning everything up, that everything about us is great, everything about us is wonderful. We have nothing that we have to work on. It's everybody else that needs to do it. That's a blind spot. Because if we can't see something somewhere that we need to correct every day to be a better human being, to be better to our fellow man, to be better and more creative in our world, in our universe, something is very wrong. Could we be better in our relationships? Could it be that some of that stuff is falling apart because we haven't evaluated our blind spots? Yeah, blind spots. There was a movie a few years ago, and I know you guys remember it, called The Blind Side. And the reason that the primary character in that story, actually based on a true story with Michael Orr, he had so many blind spots. But it wasn't until he got into the game, football that is, to protect the quarterback from the blind side, that he played some of his best football. Got paid a lot of money for that. Because after the quarterback, that's the second highest paying job, is to protect from the blind side. But you can't protect from the blind side until you know about the blind spots. Michael Orr had come through a lot of those blind spots, come through poverty, come through Section 8 housing, come through a family that had fallen apart, but another family saw something amazing in him and decided to take him as a part of their family, cultivate him. And while everybody said he had nothing to give, that he couldn't learn anything, they had essentially written him off. They found out that every time he got in a situation to protect, man, he was off the charts. In fact, he took a test that said protecting others is what he did well. Protecting others then got a paycheck. Why? He learned about the blind spots. And the blind spots taught him how to protect the blind side. That's what self-evaluation will do. It will teach us where the blind spots are, but then it also teaches us how to protect the blind side. And sometimes we get into situations, well, for lack of a better phrase, our pants are pulled down in the least opportune areas because we never learned our blind spots and we never learned how to protect the blind side. Yeah. We have some folks that I'm telling you, hot butter won't melt in their mouth. Everything is perfect every time you tell them, even the worst things in their lives. They never learn about them. And then the blind side is open, it's unprotected, and things come in, and they wonder how they got there. Things like divorce. I know we don't want to talk about it. But sometimes it's because we didn't learn about the blind spots. We didn't learn how to recognize that we're attracted to people who are less than stellar for our world. But rather than to admit that that's a blind spot and it's leaving open a blind side that needs to be protected, we go along with the fantasy of love. And then we end up with the failure caused by lust. Yeah, I said what I said. I really did. We go along with the fantasy of love and we end up with the failure caused by lust because we didn't pay attention to the blind spot and it left the blind side unprotected. If we are consistent, we will pay attention that we keep attracting the same thing in different faces, creating similar results that are not great for us. When we see that pattern, if we have been consistent, we will see it and we will make adjustments. We will get counseling and say, why do I do the thing that I do that keeps getting those results? I had to do that. I had to go through some counseling and figure out why I was doing me the way I was doing me and getting the results of a me that I did not like. I had to pay attention to that's consistency. See, I became consistent. I started paying attention to the results I was getting. And when I don't like the results that I'm getting, then I have to go back and figure out why I'm getting those things. Yeah. I didn't have to be correct about it. I just had to be consistent about it. Okay. And consistency will show us some things. And so consistency teaches us about the blind spots that leaves the blind side unprotected. And remember, that's going to be the second highest paid on the team as far as football is concerned. And I think it applies to life as well, after the quarterback. Because the quarterback is determining purpose, is determining what's play going to work. I know they call it from the sideline, but sometimes he's got to make adjustments. That's why they pay him, number one. But if he's not able to get that football off because he keeps getting hit before he can release it, then he does the team no good. That's why they pay that offensive tackle on the left side, in most cases, the second highest paycheck. What is it that is keeping your purpose protected? Y'all, this is some good stuff. I'm going to let y'all go because this is good. I had to drink some more tea, and I told you cameras are going in and out. That's okay. But what is it that is keeping your purpose, your plans for our lives? What is that thing that is not protecting that? It means we got a blind side open. That's all it means. And so what is that? Is that blind side friends, relationships we become blind to that are no longer supporting our best us? Or are there friendships that have possibly run their course? Is it coworkers that used to be cool, but now they're critical? What is that thing? Something's left open. Something is left open, y'all. And when we can't, even for ourselves, we usually turn it to us. What are they not doing for us? But then let's flip the coin. What are we not doing for them? I know. This is a tough one. Y'all, because it's about the blind spots that leave the blind side unprotected. Are we not able to be there for our friends? And yet, because they're our friends, we just want to hang around, although it may not be in their best interest. One of the best things I've found in my life, while I've been consistent about self-evaluation, is to find out when I am not a positive factor in my friend's life. I've learned to release my friends in love. Yeah. Why? I want them to excel. Does that mean sometimes we do some things that we used to enjoy together and I have to figure out how to do that alone or to do it in a different way? Yes. Is it hurtful still when we do those things, even in love? You better believe it. Because we miss our friends. But I would rather see my friend accomplish the purpose for which God has called him or her to than to be stuck at my side, not doing what they've been created to do and to do well. I've seen my sisters blossom in such a way this year that I am so proud as I take inventory. I've seen them open businesses. I've seen them create books. I've watched them create products and industries. I've watched that. I've been a part of that. Why? It's in the release. I have a friend years ago that it was time for her to leave our local assembly of worship, and it was a difficult decision for her. But when she made that decision and she went to the powers that be, and it seemed like nobody, at least from her perspective, and it was a fair perspective, I might add, it seemed like nobody was congratulatory, perhaps, accommodating, acknowledging. They acknowledged, but it wasn't like a well send off to her. And she kept saying, "It's okay. It's okay." And I said, "No, it's not okay. It's not okay." And since I be a part of the assembly, what I'm going to do is to release you in love. And y'all, I grabbed her and I hugged her and we prayed and we were in the parking lot and I prayed God's best over her life. And guess what? That's what I really mean to this day. I want the absolute best for her life. I don't want anything less. I don't want anything less than stellar. I don't want anything less than great. I don't want anything less than excellence in her life. Why? That light was created to shine and perhaps even shine in my life in a way I may not even know at this point. So I learned release. It was a parking lot release, okay? But it was still a release. Am I excited to see that person to this day excel? She's gotten promotions, y'all. She's climbed the ladder in her industry. I celebrate that. I celebrate that. But if I had not done self evaluation, if I had not evaluated my blind spots, I would have left unprotected my blind side. So that's what we're talking about today. What is your thing? I see you guys chiming in over here. See my great sisters, Minister Yo and Minister Deborah. I see Prophetess Paula. Love you guys so much. You guys have any questions, anything over here? This is a hot subject, y'all. It's self-evaluation. We're getting to the end of 2022, and if we're allowed to cross over into 2023, my goodness, we're going to have to know this. We are going to have to know this. How to self-evaluate accurately and fairly. Yeah, that's what we got to do. How to do that thing and how to promote others, not just us, but promote others as well. Don't lose sight of you, not at all, but promote others as best you can, but also to persevere into the things you've been called to do. Please do not take your hand from the plow right now. It's too important. And if that means you have to block things out, even our wonderful friends, it's important. Just as you release them, release yourself into greatness. Release yourself into excellency. Release yourself into the purpose for which you have been created. Release yourself into power, girl. Whew, that was good. Release yourself into power and make no apologies. Why? Because you and I have been called to serve someone. Those audiences, those congregations, those nations, the globe is waiting on you and I. They're all waiting on you and I. There are people right now who are starving psychologically, mentally, spiritually, relationally, yes, physically, because some of us have creations that may even help cure cancer right now. But we're trying to be at this event and we're trying to be at that event. Sit down with your schedule, with your calendar, and pray over it, as I am having to do, and ask God, where am I to be? And when am I to be there? And when He said it, said it. And that's it. There are people waiting on us financially. They are broken in debt, indebted right now to systems. And you have a key that God is handing you to unlock debt, generational debt, and open the vault of generational wealth. But if you don't lock down those schedules, they won't get there. Even in the areas of intimacy, sexually, we don't want to talk about that, because we be church girls. Okay, we don't talk about that. But it's, more than 50% of the marriages, yes, in the body of Christ, the believers. We're not talking about the church, just believers in general. or end up in divorce because nobody talks about intimacy or the lack thereof, what things are getting in the way, and creating openings for the enemy to get in and destroy our marriages and our families because we don't talk about those things, or we don't talk about those things. What things may be missing from the bedroom, and why he would rather sleep on the sofa than sleep with us, his wife. I know, I know. Leadership doctor not supposed to talk about all of that. Well, she is, because nobody else will talk about it. There are creative industries that God has given us in our hands. Some of us are planting gardens that have the extract for what is needed to restore intimacy in marriages, in the bedroom, in the sexual relationships between a man and his wife. And we're sitting on it because we're concerned about what somebody would say. The divorce lawyer doesn't say anything but give me my 40, my check. That's what I need. And you're going to pay court costs too. But you're sitting on an industry right now. I call it an industry where it would not only be a blessing to you, but it would be a blessing to others, and perhaps save their marriage, perhaps restore something that has been lost for years, and that the believers in the body walk around and say, well, it was good while it lasted. If Abraham and Sarah could be rocking it at 89 and 99, Elizabeth and Zacharias could be rocking it in their old age and produce a John. You're telling me that that's supposed to, what? When the biblical accounts say that Moses at 80, his eyesight wasn't dim and his natural forces not abated, that means not only his physical strength, but his sexual strength as well. Miss me with that. Sorry, boo. I can't help y'all. I can't. I'm actually helping you now. Produce the product. Produce it. Create it. Create the line. The makeup. Whatever that is. The hair. We don't know what it is. Create that thing. I got some sisters on here and they know how we do it. When we are in those sessions for leadership, personal development, transition in your careers, I don't mind pushing you. I do not mind making you mad. Because if you get mad, in the words of my mom, I know you heard me. That means you're going to be mad enough to go and do what you need to do. And make sure your businesses are sound. While we're looking at blind spots right now that leave our blind side unprotected, don't ride dirty. Not right now. It's too much riding on it. I mean, millions and billions riding on it. Do not ride dirty. Set up your businesses appropriately. If you don't know how to do that, see me. I'm the leadership doctor for a reason. We're not going to cut corners in this season. We've got a 12-week masterclass coming up this January, starting January 10th. Go to my website, My Best Life Academy, www.drsheryleads.com. Go to it. You have a question, inbox us. We will set up a discovery call with you free of charge. You just talk to me. Give me 30 minutes. That's all I need. And I'll show you why you need me. Call it what you want to call it. Some people say, oh, they're bragging, they're cocky, they're confident, they're just arrogant. Absolutely not. We're confident in what he's given us. Yes, we are. Why is there a charge, leadership doctor? Because I'm going to teach you how to charge. Client, I'm going to teach you where your value is, where your worth is, and how we have diminished that. I'm going to teach you why you have been bootlegging while you are enduring imposter syndrome. because someone has told you that you don't deserve the worth of your hard work. I lived imposter syndrome, y'all. I lived it too long. Coming out of burnout, I lived it too long. I refuse to live it, and I refuse to allow those around me to live it. I will not do it. Not in this season. No, we won't. We are going to be exactly who we are called to be, and we are going to understand the worth and the value that is connected with that. Because how can you bless others when you will not bless yourself? Oh, y'all, I got to stop. This is getting better and better. We're trying to bless others and we haven't blessed ourselves. How do you keep pouring out of an empty pitcher? How do you keep water coming out of a faucet that can't tap the well? How do you do it? You got to know. So we have extended our time on today. I'm so excited that you guys spent a few moments, even though we got started a little bit late. It's not about being correct, even in time. Even when you have issues, it's about being consistent. And so when we are consistent, especially in the areas that we mentioned of self-evaluation and understanding our blind spots that leave the blind side unprotected, then we will do well. So I love you guys to life. You know it. I see the comments coming in here hot. We're just playing some more back. Yeah, I see you, Minister Deborah. You're absolutely right. Amen. The ditto. I love that. That's all. Confident in the gift. Yes, ma'am. Given by God. You better believe it. Really good to me too. Yes. And yes, I do push you. Even the elders that sleep in separate rooms. Come on here, sister. Still come together. You don't belong to yourself. Be angry, but sin not. Exactly. We're teaching a generation love. And we have to teach them in the right way. Come on, husband. You better believe it. It's cold out there, baby. It's cold outside. So we need backlogs. Come on in here. Uh-huh. I love this. Hey, Dr. Novella, I love you, girl. I love you. Now, that's a strong sister. You guys got to get to know her. She might have had to step off for a meeting or something, but I love this woman. She is a powerful woman in the industry of business and just a powerful woman of God. You guys got to go to her site and learn some more about her. I love my sister. You better know it. You better know it. Powerful. Yeah, this is it. So this is what we're talking about, ladies, gents, and whoever will hear this later today. That was the word we opened up with. Consistent is what you have been. Oh, you better know it. Thank you, sister. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, ladies and gents. So I'm going to let you off of here. Be back for part 2 of taking inventory. We're going to throw in an extra power tables before we close this year out as the Lord allows. And my goodness, this take inventory part 2, you better call some sisters and brothers, and we're going to work on this technology and this camera thing to get it right. So we can be here at 12:15 to 12:45, but we got a layout coming. And you might want to bring pen and pencil and make sure friends come over, get your trusty device out and take copious notes on this one. This is a bonus for you going into 2023 because we're going to talk about what write-offs really mean. Okay. Love you guys to life. Have an amazing day.